My
We
microphone's in the way. I can't see stuff.
we are officially going to start right now. My name's Terry Daniel, voiceover and coach, voice actor and coach from Minneapolis. I'm with Donnie, Platt, and Rob Marley, two other excellent voice actor and coaches. We are officially recording. We are officially moving. So, a couple of things here. We're gonna talk about how to get started doing voiceovers the right way in 2018. If you've been thinking about this for way too long, hopefully this particular presentation and this webinar will encourage you to, get off your rear and get started. Because believe me, all three of us were right where you are. We procrastinated like crazy. We found excuses that would constantly get in our way. We kept tripping over roadblocks, and we let fears kind of, invade our life. And we just kind of said, F it, and went for it. And for me, this was many, many, many years ago. And I'll start by telling you a little bit about myself. I started in radio and theater. I worked for, let's talk about radio because it's kind of funny. I worked for an alternative rock station and a jazz station at the same time. So I'd be like this really radical, rowdy guy on the air, like during the afternoon. And then at night, I'd go across the street and I'd be, that was Dave Kaz on Smooth Jazz 104.1. So it was like two different personalities, and like 2 hours before, hey, man, we're talking to what's his name from Coon Rapids. What the hell's going on, man? And then 3 hours later, that was Kenny G on 104.1. Smooth jazz you love. Happy holidays. Radio became very corporate, as you know, in the mid 90s with Clear Channel and CBS. And I've always done voiceovers on the side. And I finally just got enough clients where I was able to kind of quit my radio gig. I'm like, you know what? I've had it. I'm going to finally do what I've always wanted to do. And that's start a voiceover business from the comfort of my own home. And that's what I've done comfortably now for almost 15 years. It's been a magnificent career. I do everything from commercials, e-learning narrations to theme park announcements, you name it. So that's just a little bit about me. I'm a huge music historian. I love music from the 50s on up. I have a giant vinyl collection. Voiceover isn't my entire life. I'm a sports fanatic, and I really am into the theater and the music scene, but to make a living, I talk in this thing. And by the way, this is a Neumann TLM 103 microphone. I didn't always start off with this mic, but it has served me well over the last few years. Let's go over to Donnie Plattis. Donnie, happy holidays.
Hi, happy holidays.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. And, first of all, how did you find out about voice acting and what made you want to kind of get into it? And then tell us a little bit about, give us like a success story.
Yeah, for me, it's something that has been a lifelong dream. I started acting as an infant and went on throughout school and did that whole bit until I graduated, and I bought a store. After doing that for about 7 years, I had some life stuff that called for a change with the hard hours that come with retail. So
yeah,
I wanted to originally be an actor, and I just didn't really see it being very feasible. So I started doing some research into other businesses I could do that would be very low impact on my body for health reasons.
Right.
And I came across voice acting, and I was like, oh, you don't have to move to LA, and you don't have to, do all the auditions, and it's not a total pipe dream. It's like, it's a business. I was like, I can run a business. I know how to run a business. So I looked into that, found Terry, and before I even graduated, I got my first job in a video game. So it works. That's why I'm here, is because
that's awesome.
Completely works.
And tell us what kind of headphones you have on this evening.
These are I'm not the tech girl. That is one that I always hire out for and bother Rob and Terry for on a very regular basis. So I'm going to try to say this properly, but they're the Sennheiser 2810s, I think. I'm definitely not a gearhead.
Oh, so. No, Sennheiser.
Those are good headphones.
I've got a pair right here. I don't have them on because I wanted to be festive and wear my Santa hat, but I have a pair of Sennheisers, and then I have a pair of... I like these AKG mics when I'm doing long-term narration because they're very light on the head, and the Sennheisers sound a little bit better, but it's like having a couple of armadillos on your head. They are a little heavy for sure. So we appreciate you being here for sure. Let's get over to Rob Marley. Rob, you've got quite the background in radio and voice acting, and tell us a little bit about where you found your passion to be a voiceover artist.
Actually, Actually, no radio. I've never actually done radio. I've done
Oh,
audio
it's TV.
controls for
Yeah,
radio,
you've
but
done TV,
yeah,
not
lots of TV
my
production.
mistake.
Right.
Yeah.
I've been in video production pretty much since I was old enough to work, and in one way or another, every company that I've ever worked for has always needed a voiceover, and they said, "Well, Rob, you got a good voice, you do it." So I don't know. It was one of those things that I felt comfortable in front of the microphone. I worked at an amusement park for way too many years and was a sound mixer for live bands, and we always had to do spiels. Most of the spiels were on carts. I don't know, Terry, you've worked with carts. They're really
Oh
fun things.
yeah. My first
And,
radio gig was all carts.
oh yeah. And in the summer in California, 8-track tapes really don't work too well in tape machines, and so the carts would always fail, and you'd have to do the announcements live, and so I got really comfortable being in front of a microphone behind the crowd, so they didn't see me, and being able to talk on mic, and so basically every job I've ever had has involved me doing voiceover in one way or another, and a few years ago. A friend of mine gave me a tablet PC for Christmas gift, and it was one of those things that I looked at it and said, "This doesn't make any sound. It has no spinning hard drive. It has no fan. It's completely silent. I could record audio with this." And it was one of those things that, like, the light bulb went off in my head and said, "Why aren't I doing voiceover on my own?" And so I put everything together and built a studio, and here I am.
That is awesome. Speaking of theme parks, by the way, I've done a lot of theme park announcements. So for those of you on the call, if you ever, like, for example, if you're on like one of the roller coasters at Six Flags or Valley Fair here in Shakopee, Minnesota, or Darien Lakes, when you hear that kind of crazy voice that goes, "Please keep your hands and feet inside the ride until the ride comes to a complete stop." That could be yours truly. And what's funny, back in the day, you guys, somebody used to record this, like Rob was talking about, behind the scenes at the actual amusement park. But thank God for technology these days, because now we record stuff like that from our home studios, such as I do here. Mm-hmm. And then you send the MP3 to the promo company or who's ever in charge of putting that stuff together at the theme park. And it makes it a hell of a lot easier than having to, like, fly out to New York or California or do anything like that. So, all right, well, let's get started with talking about what we basically came here to talk about. And I want to take this voiceover thing in several different steps, and we'll take you through 10 quick steps. The first step, and this might sound kind of weird, but it's true, you really have to believe in yourself. You have to believe that you can do it, because if you have any doubts, and you're going through this entire process, and it is quite a process. It's not medical school where it's going to take 12 years to get to the demo part of the training or anything like that. But it takes a little bit of time to learn the craft, and you have to believe that you can do it. I mean, Donnie, when you got started, I mean, that's kind of where you were at. I mean, you believed that you could have some success doing it.
Yeah, definitely. That's just the biggest part of it, is being able to have that confidence to go in and speak to people. And that's what I got from the training, though, because I knew how to run a business. I knew how to do customer service, but what I didn't know was how to approach potential clients. And that's what you taught me how to do. And then just getting that confidence to go, okay, I know what I'm doing. I can talk to this person. That's a lot of time. The biggest hurdle is just getting that confidence to approach somebody and say, hey, this is how I can be a solution provider to you.
Right.
You should work with me.
And if those of you that were in our last webinar, we talked about all the different myths. We were dispelling all the myths, and there's all these naysayers out there that'll tell you, oh, it's way too competitive, don't bother, there's a lot of people doing voiceover. I don't know why we get that, because if you tried to go into photography, or how about real estate, oh my God, I mean, there's the entire country is saturated with 1 billion people trying to do everything. So I don't think voiceover is anywhere near the top. I mean, try being a musician or like an on-camera actor. I mean, try being a Rob Marley impersonator. I mean, holy shit, everybody wants
a tough
to
do that. Yeah.
So,
honestly, there are a lot of voiceover talent. There is a lot of people in the voiceover business. But there's enough work to go around. I mean, it's not like anybody's really starving. It all depends on on how hard you grind, how badly do you want it? You know,
Mhm.
that's what it is. It's like you can sit on your ass and watch Netflix all day, or you could actually do something to move your create a voiceover business, a career, and move yourself forward. It all depends on how hard you want to work. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, and then like step two, pardon me, I'm just getting over a cold, but research is really, really important. Just like any other business, you're going to have to, and again, there's going to be really great stuff online, and then there's going to be really weird stuff. Like if you go to like ehow.com or some of these sites that have advice on everything you want to get into, a lot of these articles are written by people who have no idea what voice acting even is. I mean, I can't believe some of the stuff I read on the internet. So be smart about the research. And this is something that I got started back before there was any internet. So it was really a lot tougher. You had to meet with agents in person. You had to have a meeting, and then 6 months later, you might hear back from them. There was no guarantee that you're even going to make it on the roster, but it always took a slew of phone calls and a lot of traveling and just a lot of stuff, via telephone, because we didn't have the internet. We couldn't send an MP3 of a demo to a talent agent. We couldn't tweet somebody. Everything took a lot longer. But now you have all this wonderful research on the internet. So be smart about everything that you learn about online. Step three, transform any fears into action. I mean, we deal with people all the time from Voiceover Camp. They're terrific, terrific people, but they either sit on the fence for too long, or they just can't. They can't find that key to put in the ignition to get started. And let me ask you this, Rob. I mean, when you got started in voice acting, did you have any kind of fear of failure? Was there anything that kind of held you back?
You know, I was really cocky. I thought I knew everything. Honestly,
Me too.
I thought I had it down. I thought for sure. It's like, all right, I've been talking into microphones all my life. I know how to do this. You know, it's really simple. And yeah, boy, was I wrong.
Yeah. Well, it's again, you have to do it. You just have to take action. And step four, with any new business, mentorship is key. Now, I'm not saying that you can't have a successful voiceover career without getting coaching, but let's be honest. You need that other perspective. You need that second set of ears. Who's going to give you honest feedback about your reads? You can't give yourself constructive criticism when you read a script by yourself. I mean, I did that for years when I first got started way back in like the late 80s. I would record into my Panasonic boombox. And then I would play it back. And of course, I was like you, Rob. I was kind of young and cocky, and I thought everything sounded great until I actually worked with a couple of coaches that absolutely tore me apart and kind of built me back up. But if you think about any business, mentorship is key. I mean, Tawny, even in your business, when you used to do retail and other things, there's mentorships for that. I mean, it doesn't, internet marketing, photography, acting, music, real estate. Mentorship is such a huge part of the business. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Absolutely. That was something I did from the beginning in retail as well. I was 18, so I had no clue past the retail jobs that I had done, which weren't management either. I was just a salesperson. So I did the exact same thing I did with voiceover. I went online, I found the community, I found a mentor, and I started getting training. I bought all of the classes and books and everything I possibly could on sales and management and employee training and everything. And I learned and I built it up, and I still have those mentors today that I speak to just because they are other business owners. And that's something that you have to know about voiceover is you are a business owner first and foremost, and your product is your voice.
A lot of people that get into the business, they use and we all know it as a cliche, but everybody who gets into the business always says the same thing. People always tell me what a great voice I have and I should be in voiceover.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's great. You may have a great voice, but who's telling you this? And what qualifications do they have to be able to tell you that you'd be good in voiceover? Just because you got a great voice doesn't mean diddly. I mean, it's what you can do with that voice and how you market that voice. And the only way to really know how to get into the business and do it the right way without like spending a fortune to fail is to have somebody showing you the right and the wrong ways. Somebody who's qualified, who can say, yeah, okay, that kind of works, but really you're faking it, and here's why, and here's how you need to make it better. You need a mentor to be able to hold your hand and say, this is what you're doing wrong, and this is how to make it good, and those people that tell you, oh, I've got, you've got a great voice, you should do this. They don't know anything. I mean,
Well,
it's
and
nice.
they
It's
don't
nice to
tell you
hear
that.
that, but
Yeah, they don't tell you it's an investment of both your time and financially. Where people fail is right up front when
yeah,
they don't want to actually have to pay for the training, or they don't want to have to buy equipment. They don't want to actually put in the work to do it. And some of these books out there that are still kind of some of them are great, no question about it, but some of the titles are very misleading. Sometimes people will see the title of it, Make Money with Your Voice or Bank on Your Voice, and people will just assume that because they have a great voice, that somebody's going to knock on their door with a big bucket full of money and say, hey, I heard you've got a great set of pipes, man. We want to hire you for a couple of jobs. Follow us and we'll bring you to the studio and we'll write you a check for 300 grand.
yeah, that
No,
doesn't happen.
that's not the way it works.
Yeah.
Step 5 is putting it all together, like putting some lists together. Even when you're going through training, you should go online and start looking at talent agencies and production companies and audio visual departments and corporations and start building like an Excel spreadsheet. If you're a hater of Excel like myself, I really like those Google Docs where it's kind of the Google version. I think it's, you can
Yeah.
find it in Google Drive. I think it's called, I don't know what the name is for it, but
Sheets, Google Sheets.
Yes, Google Sheets. It saves the information automatically every 2 seconds, and you can build a list right there. And here's a tip, too, where people are always like, well, I got to get a talent agent. Well, agents help, but they're not necessarily the key to success. I mean, 80% of my annual revenue is by working with clients direct, whether it's at a production company or it's somebody that owns a small business. It can be done without the help of any talent agent whatsoever. They don't like it really when I say that, but it's really true. And God bless them all. My local agents, terrific. I've got many agents around the country who are very good friends of mine, and they're all terrific. But the truth of the matter is, I get a lot of work via, being kind of a freelance voice actor and working with clients direct. I think that's how you two get your business, right?
Absolutely. I have 6 agents, and 99% of what I make comes from my own hard work.
Yeah, there
The
you have
agents,
it.
the agency auditions, and when you get an agent, it's not the end of the road. It's not the be all end all. It
Right.
just means that you've now stepped up into the major leagues.
Mhm.
And while that sounds really nice, it means now you're competing with people who are at the top of their game
Mhm.
in voiceover. You're competing with the Joe Ciprianos. You're competing with all these big people in the business. So you better have your chops ready to go.
No
Otherwise,
question about
you're not going to get any. You're not going to make any work off of that. All the work that I make, or all the work that I get, is from my own hard work. The agents are really just for practice for me, for more than anything else.
Yeah, so start building those lists of who you're going to contact. Once your demo
Absolutely.
is created, and we're going to get to that in just a second. I do want to take a couple questions pretty soon here, but a really good lead that's really worked out well for me is people never think of this. It's not really in a lot of voiceover books. You don't really hear about it in webinars, but contacting corporations is a great lead because most of them have in-house production studios where there's 1 or 2 audiovisual directors who are running around way busy doing stuff for their companies, whether it's PowerPoint presentations, some type of an e-learning thing, or maybe even the on-hold system for the entire company. They're in charge of all of the audiovisual stuff for their company. And there is a ton of opportunity there for voice actors. That's how I got a bunch of gigs via General Mills, which I can walk right down the street. They're literally like a half a mile away. I just, I called them up and asked to speak to the audiovisual director, and that's how I kind of got in with them. What's nice about getting in with kind of a corporation is sometimes they only use like 5 or 6 voice talents because they want to keep it simple for themselves because they're way too busy to use like 3 or 4 talent agents. So, all right, if you want to ask a question, we'd like to have you come on live with us if you don't mind. And here's how you do it. You raise the virtual hand in the GoToWebinar widget, and then we will call upon you. And you can really raise that hand anytime during the presentation because we like to take breaks here and there between our little slideshow here and answer any questions that you might have. I'm going to scroll through here and see if we have anybody. So don't be shy. Just raise the virtual hand in the GoToWebinar widget. We're going to maybe do like 1 or 2 more slides, and then we'll be happy to answer any questions. If you don't want to talk live, no big deal. You can actually fill out a question and put it in the little question box, and we can get to it that way as well. All right, step number 6. Oh, the mighty demo. Let's talk about the demo, the importance of having professional demos. Now, pardon me, I really apologize for my voice here this evening. Let's talk about those 2 words together, professional demo. Now, we love everybody that comes into our Facebook group called Voiceover Camp. By the way, if you're not a member of Voiceover Camp, I'll stick a link at the end of the presentation. We'll tell you how to join us. A lot of great conversations here. We love everybody that comes in, but it never fails, at least once every other day, and Rob and Donnie can be my witness to this. Somebody will drop in a self-made demo. They'll want feedback on it, and they'll want to know what the next steps are in their voiceover career. I'm here to say that that is the absolute wrong move. Demos are great voice, but the demos are usually horrible, and they tried to do it via USB mic. It's terrible production, and if you really want to do it the right way, you don't want to be laughed out of the business by producers or talent agents and send a self-made demo. Go ahead, Rob. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, no matter how good you think you are, you could be really good at putting together a demo, but you can't be objective with your own voice. Right. No matter how good you think you are, there's going to be somebody else that's going to say, oh, that delivery sounded a little fake, and you need to be more conversational. You can't be objective producing your own demo. You're going to think it sounds great. I know I did. I made the same mistake. I created my own first demo. And God, I listen to it now and I cringe. It's absolute garbage. But it's like you don't have the skill. You don't have the objectivity to be able to really listen to your voice and go, yeah, that was a little weak. You need somebody to be able to do that for you.
Well, and there's a couple of things too. Not only you need somebody to help coach you on your reads and your performance, which is vital, but you also don't have the engineering skills to be doing the production, and that really needs to take place. Not all coaches produce demos. I happen to do both. I coach and produce demos. But if you're working with a coach, usually they work with somebody else who's a professional engineer that can really mix it up and make it sound absolutely professional, because it's the first thing a talent agent, a producer is going to ask. I'm like, do you have a professional demo? And you don't want to send a self-made demo because these people have great memories for the shit that you send them. They don't, and you don't want to get on that. You don't want to get on Santa's bad list, right? As being somebody that wasted their time a year ago. You may not even get a second chance. Donnie, I think you were going to say something there.
It's a big red flag, especially nowadays with the technology that we have. It's because, to me, when you produce your own demo, that immediately says you did not take the time to research, because that is one of the first things that you find when you're researching voiceover is big red letters, all caps, do not produce your own demo, get coaching. So when I see somebody's like, hey, this is my demo, what do you think? I'm like, I think that you don't care about this personally, and I'm not sure if I want to work with you.
Right.
So it's a huge red flag to us. It's an even bigger red flag to production companies, agencies, and they will remember you and they will not work with you in the future.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I've seen it and I've heard it a million times.
Yeah, as a voiceover artist, you want to be remembered to the people that are seeking voiceover artists. But I promise you, if you put together a crappy voiceover demo, you'll be remembered for the wrong reasons, and like the truly bad ones. And Terry, you can back me up on this. The truly bad ones that get sent to agencies, they share them with their friends. They go, listen to how terrible this guy is. I mean, you'll love it. You don't want to be
the joke. You don't want to be the punchline.
Yeah.
Question.
They become a gag reel.
And if you think about it too, if you think about being an on-camera actor, or if you're a model, I mean, think about how serious these people are. I mean, these people are like, there's no messing around with those kinds of careers. And they don't take an iPhone like this and go like this and then send it to an agency and submit that as their headshot. They're going to hire a professional photographer, and they're going to get, at least a dozen or two professional headshots because they want to make a splash. Why would they want to waste anybody's time by taking a selfie with their iPhone and sending it in? That's the equivalent of sending in a self-made demo.
Yeah, that's exactly
analogy. It is the best analogy. Like, it will go directly into the trash just like the selfie submission. It is the
Mhm.
same exact thing, and nobody will take you seriously.
Your demo is your headshot. It's what
Yes.
represents you when you're not online.
Absolutely.
And you want it to be as professional and well produced as possible. And if you try and do it yourself, even the people that are professional, audio engineers, they just don't have the ability to make to be objective about their own voice. It's like
Right.
you need somebody to do that for you.
All right, we got a couple of, by the way, if you want to ask a question, just raise the virtual hand in the GoToWebinar widget and we may call upon you. I've got Jeff Davis, who I think was on a previous webinar. Let's go ahead and unmute him. Jeff, good evening. It always takes a second, so hang on a minute.
Hello, Jeff.
There he comes.
Hello, hello.
Jeff, how you doing?
I'm great. How is everybody tonight?
Happy holidays to you, my friend.
Thank you. Happy holidays. Hey, I have just a quick question about when you do a job for a client, how much editing do they expect from you? I mean, aside from maybe setting levels and taking out some breaths and things of that nature and, pulling out some of your bad takes, what do they expect from you? And I'm sure there's more money involved if you're able to give them a finished product. But as a beginner, what should one expect to deliver to a client?
All right, I'm going to mute you, Jeff. Well, there's a couple different things here. If you're doing a job for a production company, more times than not, they're probably going to do all the production from their end. So really, your responsibility is being the performer. So you need to focus on the performance and taking the direction from them. And usually, like if it's a short job, like for me personally, let's say if it's like a 15-second or 30-second job, and whether it's a commercial narration or whatever, I'll usually send them a couple takes. Sometimes I do invite them to be on a session live, so they want to direct me. Some of them will demand to direct you, and you have to accommodate that wish as well. And then they'll produce it on their end. Now, if you want to be more of a producer, like I am, I really enjoy, putting in the background music and the sound effects and really producing the overall commercial. That's definitely can put more money in your pocket. And I just did, like we talked about in the last webinar for Halloween. I did a bunch of Halloween spots where I did the entire production. I had like 15 tracks going for most of these jobs. And that's more money in your pocket because it takes you longer to do it. Sometimes you have to go and buy the music. Sometimes you have to go buy the sound effects. Rob, do you produce all your own stuff, or do you usually just do the voiceover and send it to somebody to do it?
No, the majority of what I submit is just clean audio. It dry, unprocessed. It depends. If it's an audition, I'm going to process just a little bit because most of the time with an audition, they're going to want to hear. You're going to want to present yourself in a way that it sounds like a finished product.
Right.
It sounds like a finished product because that helps sell your voice. But when it comes to the actual job, 90% of the time, they're going to want clean, unprocessed audio because chances are it's going to an engineer who's going to do the processing himself. And if you go in and you squeeze the hell out of it, I mean, taking out breaths is one thing and mouth clicks and all that stuff, that's fine. But if you're processing it, if you're adding compression and maybe some reverb or something like that, and God forbid, sound effects or music to a job, it makes it impossible for the engineer to be able to pull that stuff out. And if they compress something that's already compressed, it's just going to sound even worse. So 90% of the time, what I'm sending to a paying client is unprocessed, clean audio, plain and simple.
And if this is an agency booking where you show up to a recording studio, usually a couple people from the PR firm will show up and direct you live, and then the engineer is right there to take the recording. So then even then, you're just you're the singer that shows up. You're the performer. You don't have any other thing to worry about other than the performance. So it's really, It's kind of interesting with voiceover because it's really a couple of different businesses. There's really, there's the independent contractor voice acting business, which is what we talked about earlier, where how we all work directly with producers, clients with no agent involved whatsoever. And then on the other side of the business, and we all have friends that, they would be lost without their agents. That's all they do is get bookings from their agents. They would have no idea how to market to producers and business owners. They're more of like the old school way where they depend on their agent to make a living. So that part of the business is still very much alive. It just depends on where you fall. I mean, Tawny, what about some of the stuff that you do? Do you do any like production?
A little bit. I actually do a lot of podcasting. That's the world that I've really, really gone into with my voiceover. So I'm very much like business owner in that sense. But with the actual voiceover that I do, hardly at all, honestly. Like a little bit kind of here and there, but it kind of goes back to like just telling the client that those are the services that you can do. If I'm just sending something and somebody's like, hey, I want you to do this job for me, basically, edit out the breaths, that's pretty much it. That's what they want. They want just like the raw audio.
Terrific. Well, let's go to step 7 here. Measurable goals, such as contacting 5 new businesses a day. Rob, I think you brought this up to me earlier this morning. What a great, great goal, and a simple one, because it's not overwhelming. It's not like you have to sit there and make 200 cold calls a day. You keep it simple. You contact 5 new businesses a day. Now, I did sales for radio and television for a while, for a few years back in the late 90s. And this is kind of a goal that I took from that. You got to keep it realistic and keep it simple. So contacting, 5 businesses a day, like once you have your demo, is a really good goal. I mean, what else do you have to say about that, Rob?
It's got to be achievable goals. That's one of the things. It's like, it's easy to say, yeah, I'm gonna call 100 businesses this month. Well, and then you get to the 28th and you haven't called any. What you need to do is break it down into small chunks. 5 a day is doable. If you can do 10 a day, that's even better. But you're going to burn yourself out if you do 10 a day for 7 days a week or 5 days a week, and then 4 weeks out of the month. You're going to burn yourself out. So it's like you need to break it down into small chunks that are achievable. Because setting a goal, some big lofty goal, is nice, but you're not going to achieve it. You got to break it down into small chunks. That's the key.
And Tawny, you're a great marketer. Give me just a couple of little things that you do on a weekly basis.
For me, very similar. I set those attainable goals too, but what I do that's been very helpful for me is having the to-do list to go through every day, and that way I can hit everything I need to hit. So it's not so much like, okay, I'm going to call like X amount of people today, because my day as a freelance voiceover artist, sometimes I'll just get 3 emails and they're like, hey, we need this done yesterday, and I'm like, all right, not going to be reaching out to 5 production companies today like I thought I was. It might be more like 2 or 3.
Well, that's a good problem to have.
It is. It's a good problem to have.
Do you keep a lost my train of thought. Do you keep a schedule of a routine of what you do from day to day? Like every day is a specific routine at like 8 o'clock in the morning. Well, you wake up at like noon. I don't know. So like
for you, because you're in Texas. So for you.
That's true. Now, do you have like a set routine that you follow from day to day?
Generally, I have like what I call like the loose routine that is allowed to be flexible. So I'll start out, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm like my pay to play. I'm going to follow up with these people. I'm going to email 5 new people here and do this. It rarely ends up being that way. It's just kind of like, that's the ideal situation that'll happen that day. But then, there's a lot of different jobs we have as voiceover artists, as a coach too. So things pop up. But yeah, you basically want to go in with like a loose schedule and be okay if you don't hit everything, and prioritize what's on that list. So that way you are getting everything done. Anything you didn't get done gets moved to the list for the next day. I have a big notebook I keep with all of those to-do lists and those schedules. I have calendars. It's like a serial killer lives in my house. There's just everything everywhere. But
Post-it notes everywhere.
It is. And I'm like, that production person knows that person. And it's like, I can meet them in this networking. Like, it's part of a huge part of our industry is just that. It's organizing your business and staying on schedule, and it's tough. And I wouldn't be able to do it personally without the to-do lists. I'm a big, big, big supporter of them. And I have these big notebooks, and that way I can see what I've done over time too. So that's I have good. Like the to-do lists from before. Did I get everything done on that? What's working? What's not working? It's very much a learning curve. And it is for your whole life. Things that are working right now might not work later because things change. So it's all about being flexible and adjusting around that.
Plus, having it written down in a book like that, in a notebook, it kind of acts like a diary. You know,
It
you
is.
can go back to it several months back and go, oh yeah, I was doing this, and oh, I needed to do that, and you kind of
Yeah.
remind yourself of stuff you need to do.
Exactly. You can kind of see what you were doing when you were doing, and you're not just like, oh, how many people was I reaching out to at about that time? Or what was I doing? What was my routine like? You can actually see it. Why aren't you doing that anymore? Was it because it's not effective, or did you stop doing that and that's why you're not getting any jobs or as many jobs as you'd like to?
Yeah.
It's a great way to have it. I'm old school. I keep it like actually in a notebook. The digital stuff for me with organization is not great.
Cool.
So
Yeah, some of the old stuff still works, like a dry erase board with like
Absolutely.
your task list above. I mean, all these online programs are cute and everything, but it's kind of funny how you'll forget a password, or you just like when you just have that stuff right in front of you. It kind of helps you kind of stay organized. We do have another question.
Mm-hmm.
Stephanie James is here. And let's go ahead and unmute her mic. Hang on just a second, Stephanie, and we'll...
Stephanie James, you're the next contestant.
I apologize. My dog's going nuts. UPS comes at the worst times during the holidays here. How could they dare get in the way of our webinar? Stephanie, how are you this evening? I'm still waiting for her mic to come undone. Hang on a minute. Stephanie, are you there with us? Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't.
Hello, caller.
Hold on. Hold on, Stephanie. I'm coming one more time. Stephanie, are you with us?
You just hear Utah. Yeah, Utah's with us.
It's got to be UPS. She can't. Oh, what's funny is if the UPS guy walked right in, she would be just in love with him or her. You know, it's because she can't get to him, and it just drives her absolutely apeshit.
Oh yeah, I always thought it must be so confusing for dogs. They're like, this guy shows up every day, doesn't introduce himself, just comes up to the door and then leaves. Like, this can't be okay.
Oh yeah, what's this big window and door in the way of me getting to him? All right, Stephanie, I'm trying to unmute your mic, but something isn't working there, so I don't know. You feel free to ask a question in the question box, and we can take it there. There's a few right there that we'll get to in just a little bit, but like our buddy Milt is here.
Oh,
Milt, we just got done recording his demo, and he's patiently waiting for it to go through the production process. Milt, good evening.
How you doing?
We're doing well. Happy holidays to you, sir.
Merry Christmas. I'm old school that way.
Milt,
Hey,
Milt, do you like the Santa hat?
I do. I especially like that M right on the top. Go Gophers.
I was looking for my Minnesota Viking one. I couldn't find it anywhere, but
Go.
yeah, we're going all the way. Milt,
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we said that before. What is your question for us this evening?
So when we're talking about getting a hold of the audio video production people at the corporations, can you do kind of a play act of how a new voice actor can begin those conversations?
Wow, that's a great question. Wow, putting us on the spot, Milt. Kick him out of the webinar. I'm deleting this son of a... No, I'm just kidding. Here's basically what I do, Milt. I will... All right, yeah, you know what? Let's do a little role playing. It'll be kind of fun. Tawny, you be the person that answers the phone, and I will be, and I will kind of deliver a cold call. You want to just have some fun with this just for a couple of minutes?
You want me to be the gatekeeper or the actual person?
I want you to be a really tough gatekeeper.
Okay.
Oh, this is going to be great.
Yeah, really tough gatekeeper. So just pretend like you just say, this is General Mills or something. You can just do that.
Okay.
All right, so go ahead. The phone is ringing. Feel free to pick it up.
Thank you for calling General Mills. This is Tawny.
Hi, I was told by a Ron in, I'm not sure which department it was, but I'm supposed to talk with somebody. I have a phone meeting scheduled with somebody in the audio visual department.
Mm-hmm. And is he expecting your call?
He is expecting a call, and he was apparently he missed a message from Dorothy over in Company B, and there was a bunch of confusion about what time our meeting was at. And so if you just do me the favor and just transfer the call over, I don't want to keep him hanging again because he's not very happy about what's been going on in that other office.
Yeah, they're at lunch right now. Can I take your name and number and leave a message?
Yeah, if you could, you know what? How about if you can transfer me over so I can leave my own message? Because I've honestly, you know, and I don't mean to sound unprofessional here, but I've been through this game before. So if you could just transfer me over, I'd really, really appreciate it because he's expecting my call.
So do you want my experience with this or your experience with this, Terry?
Well, I'm going to tell you, you know, I'll tell you right now, there was a little fibbing in there, yes, but 85% of the time I can get through the gatekeeper.
And for me personally, I don't do a lot of the cold calling like Terry does. Terry, you're awesome at it. You do fantastic. I get my work through emails. I've gotten pretty much everything through emails because my cold calling, Terry's fantastic at it. I'm like, okay. And I'm getting better, but I think there's definitely like an art to it, and you are the master.
I thought I was doing good. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, just for me personally, like I have kind of my way that I do it, which is through the emails. And then I research the company first, and then I start out with a compliment. So I'm like, wow, that was a really amazing, video you did. I really love the production quality. I try to find something that I really like about it and I connect with it. And then I get a dialogue going there first. And then I transition into, so it's part of the networking where it's like, you want to make it about your client. Yeah. And then I'll transition into like, I really loved the voiceover, or I noticed you didn't have voiceover, or something in that realm to where it's connected to them and the project that they actually completed there. And then who do you use for your voiceover talents? Do you have a roster that you keep? It's more like you're trying to get information about it and then you can pitch. So they already are flattered. Good. Yeah, that's just my approach that I use.
Oh, that works great. And when I call these gatekeepers, it's funny because I don't, I'm assuming right away when I make the call that they've probably had a few calls maybe from other voice actors. So I don't even really, I try really hard not to even tell them what I'm calling about.
Right. Yeah. That's why I start out like complimenting them. Like, I'm like, wow, you guys are amazing. And they're like, thank you. And I'm like, hey, I
just wrote you guys a glowing review on Yelp.
Yeah. No, I've done that. I got a telephony job doing that.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
We got a live, we got a question from Jim Yarbray. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. Oh, I recognize him from Voiceover Camp. Hang on, Jim. We'll unmute your mic. Jim, good evening. You're talking with Donnie, Rob, and Terry. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you all?
We're great, man. Happy holidays to you, my friend.
Merry Christmas to you all. My question is, and I'm probably getting ahead of the advice and all that on here, but in my case, I've always been comedically minded and just doing characters all of the time. I don't have any experience in this in recording, but everything I do is like I respond to people at work in character, something stupid, something comedic, or whatever at home. I'm sure everybody's tired of it, but that's it. So when you get into something like this, do you just try everything that is out there? Because I don't think I would be good at narration or something like that, but I'm good at characters right off the bat. Just throw something out there, look at something and put a voice to it or whatever. I always kind of screw around with that. So I've always wondered, well, would I be good at that? Should I try everything or what?
That's a great question. I'm going to mute you. Again, this goes back to the coaching process because this is something a coach will definitely, help you define because, we're not all Captain Voiceover. We're not, even the three of us here, we're not all great at everything. I mean, I suck at audiobooks. I'm not the best character actor, even though I can get away with a few of them. But, my niche is basically commercial e-learning and theme park announcements. Rob and Donnie have other niches. And that's really something a coach can kind of help you kind of hone in, because if you're not going to be a narrator or anything like that, that's something that the coach should kind of help you decide. And, doing, I don't think you were talking about this, Jim, but doing impressions is something I don't think it's going to be very marketable, but doing like animated characters and doing that kind of thing, and falling into that pool of actors that do a lot of those kinds of things can be pretty exciting. Now, Donnie, I know you've done some character stuff, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Character is one of the ones in my wheelhouse.
Yep. So, I mean, I was kind of like Jim, where I kind of wanted to do everything. I just wanted to kind of throw the darts out there and see where they land. And, there's nothing wrong with that either. But, eventually, a coach will kind of help you kind of bring you into what your niche is, and that's basically. And then sometimes that takes a couple of years, even. Like Rob, Rob, what would you say that your particular niche is?
Making money. No.
That's a great niche to have.
No, really, for me, it's just commercial and a little bit of narration. I was gonna say, when you're first starting out, it's kind of like college. When you first start college, you're not really sure what major you want to take, so you kind of like try everything. You play the field. You carpet bomb. You know, when you're a voiceover artist, you want to try all the things. Let's try narration. Let's try audiobooks. Let's try character stuff. Let's do IVR stuff. Let's do whatever. You want to try all the little things to see maybe something clicks with you, and you go, you know what? I thought I was good at characters, but man, I'm really good at audiobooks, or the other way around. And that's where a coach really will help you. He'll be, or she will be able to hear in your voice what works for you and what doesn't, and be able to fine tune that.
Yep.
So as you start out, you may think, I'm really good in medical narration. I can riff off medical terms with no problem. But as you go through the process, you find out, what, I'm better at character stuff, and that's where the coach can help you to perfect it. There was a guy I was arguing with on Reddit about this. That he,
what a surprise! An argument on Reddit?
Arguing on Reddit. What a surprise! Yeah, no, there was a guy that asked, I do a really good Mickey Mouse impression, and I want to monetize this so that I can start making money with it. And I'm like, wow, okay, where do I begin with this? And it's like, first of all, okay, you may do a great Mickey Mouse impression, but you're not going to get work doing Mickey Mouse. In fact, you're going to get sued doing Mickey Mouse if you try and do it for money.
Right.
I can't throw a stick without hitting somebody that does a great Mark Hamill as the Joker impression. It's like, honestly, if you're
a lot of that on Reddit.
Oh, there's so much of that just voiceover.
It's like if a production company wanted the Joker, they're going to hire Mark Hamill, or they're going to pay for the licensing to get Mark Hamill, because you can't just do this on your own, So it's like, have character voices, but don't do impressions. Impressions are not going to get you work. I mean, there's a handful of people that do a really good impression. I mean, Bob, what's his name? I forgot his name. That does Porky Pig. It's like there's a handful of people that can do character impressions that actually get a job as that character. 99.99% of the time, you're just wasting your time. I mean, an impression is great at parties, but come up with your own characters.
Yeah,
come up with
original characters,
your own personalities, and use those characters in stuff that you're working on. That's where the money is made. It's not doing Mark Hamill's Joker. It's doing your own Joker. How can you make Joker different?
Exactly. Let's roll to step 8, because we're running thin on time here. Staying motivated. Whether you're having success right away, and obviously that's what we wish on everybody, especially our mentorees that we work with. But keeping yourself motivated in the process, attending classes. This is why we do it. This is why I do my, group classes a couple times a month. Even people that I've been working with forever, or even students that I had 4 or 5 years ago, they'll still pop in for a script class here and there, just to kind of keep not only keep motivated, but it's easy to fall into a bad speech pattern, even long after you've got these great demos and you're even doing well at voiceovers. I have to watch it so I don't fall into that really heavy Minnesota accent. I mean, I have one sip of beer and I sound like I just like launched myself into Canada, so I always have to be very cognizant of that. And I think I curb it pretty well when I read a script. Sometimes if I'm having conversation with people, it falls out, but these are different things. There's different, the industry is always evolving. So, attend classes, keep practicing, and let's go back for a second and talk about those weekly goals. Constantly set those weekly goals. The power of creative visualization. Rob mentioned this yesterday, that we should put it in the webinar, and I fell in love with it immediately. Draw pictures of what success looks like for you. Rob, please explain that.
It seems very, woo-woo when it comes to the creative visualization thing. It's very hippie to say this stuff. But honestly, like, having a picture of the thing that you're shooting for, like for me, I really want a Ducati motorcycle. That's my goal. Is I want a specific model Ducati, and I have a picture of the Ducati that I look at almost every day, and that reminds me of what I'm shooting for. Because when you're in your little booth, your little foam lined box, it's easy to get to lose track of what you're going for. I mean, it's it's easy to look at an audition and go, I'm not going to get it. I'm just going to go watch Netflix or whatever. But if you have little items of the things in front of you that you're serious about, that you want, it forces you to constantly be pushing for that goal. When I first got into voiceover, one of the first things I did with the money I made off my first job was I bought a fake Rolex. And it's not a Folex or anything. It doesn't say Rolex. It's just it's another company that looks like a Rolex watch.
Oh yeah.
And I wear that from time to time. And okay, from the outside it looks like I'm wearing a Rolex, but I'm the one that knows it's fake. But it's a commitment to myself that when I finally do reach that goal, I will be buying the Rolex that I really want, the real deal, and not just the fake thing on my wrist. So it's a constant visualization for me that this is what I'm shooting for. That's what it's all about.
I put pictures of every single Major League Baseball team because I want to buy them all. No, that's great. I mean, that's a great tip. I mean, what a great. I mean, I don't think it sounds right. I mean, we're all kind of hippie like anyway, so it sounds like it's a fantastic idea to me. So thank you for sharing that, Rob. Step 10. This is probably the most simple step. Remember to have fun. Does this sound kind of corny? Of course it does. If this isn't fun, you should probably look for something else to do because, you might think of yourself, oh man, I got to get the coaching. I got to get the demos produced. I've got to make phone calls. I've got to send out emails. I actually have to put some work into this. Let's be honest I'm going to be honest with you right now. This is not road construction. You're not in the middle of Highway 35 here in Minneapolis doing road construction in 7-degree weather. You're not washing windows on the 57th floor of the IDS Tower in downtown Minneapolis. Those, talk about super intense jobs, right? This is fun. You're getting a chance to market yourself, your voice. You're calling people, telling them how you can improve their business or product with your voice. I mean, that's a lot of fun. I mean, you're not, it's unbelievable. It might sound overwhelming when you first read a book or you attend this webinar or you start training with us or whatever, but it's voice acting. Think of the variety. Think of the fun shit that you get to do every week in voiceover. Wouldn't you guys agree with that?
Absolutely. It is a fun job. I mean, people make it seem like all you got to do is talk into a microphone and money spits out of your computer. I mean, there's a lot of work to make it fun, but it's the journey. It's the process. And when you're first starting out, yeah, it's overwhelming. I mean, there's an initial investment. You can't make money without having money. You've got to invest, not just in your voice, but in your gear and in the training and all that stuff. So there is an investment involved, and it can be overwhelming. But that's how it works. You've got to take the time and plan it out and realize that it's a process. It's a grind. But it's a grind that can be fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know too many jobs where you can be, the voice of a pickle one day and be a doctor the next day, and you're playing pretend the whole time, and when
I've had to step, I can't tell you how many times I've had to step back from this very microphone here when I'm getting like all pissed off because I can't pronounce a word right, or I'm just having one of those days where nothing seems to be going right in my recording. And then I'm like, and then I take a minute and then I look around. I don't have a boss. This is my boss. Look where I'm at. I'm not going to a mandatory corporate meeting in 10 minutes, and I'm sitting here getting mad that I can't pronounce prognosis or something like that. It's crazy, but it's just. I mean, what kind of a job can you say that? Working from the comfort of your own home, doing what you love.
And for people that are just starting out, I mean, yeah, it's going to be difficult because you're going to have your full-time job, and this is going to be the side job, and it's going to suck. There's going to be times where you're going to get home from a long day at work and you're going to have auditions sitting on the computer waiting for you, and you may want to just blow them off.
Right.
But what do you want to be 5 years from now or 1 year from now? 1 year from now, you're going to be 1 year older, no matter what you do. So what can you do with your goals today that'll make looking back to today feel really different and really satisfying?
And it's okay to be uncomfortable. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's part of the process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's tough when you're first starting out, when you've got that full-time job and the part-time job and you're trying to make it all work. But if you want that part-time job to become your full-time job, you need to grind. You need to work at it. You need to dedicate the time and sit in the booth and do the work. It doesn't come for free. And no matter what you do, you have to pay. One way or the other, you're going to have to pay. And that usually means in sweat or sweat equity,
Right. Well, spoken like a true prodigy, which leads us to it's time for the damn prize.
Ta-da!
All right. We've got a $50 gift card from sweetwater.com going over to Peter Ponce.
Who gets it? Peter Ponce?
Peter Ponce is the winner.
I think I know him. He's in Voiceover Camp, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. A lot of people here from Voiceover Camp. Congratulations,
awesome.
Peter, on that.
Congrats, Peter.
Now, like what we talked about earlier, if you're not in Voiceover Camp, this is kind of our online Facebook group. Some people are our mentorees. Some people are just there to kind of learn and kind of dabble their feet in. We do have pro friends in there, too, that are nice, that kind of chime in the conversations. But the URL is facebook.com/group/voiceovercamps. It's right on the slide. You can just copy or take a screenshot from your computer and, join us. Feel free to send me a request. This is where a lot of you found out about us. And I built Voiceover Camp basically for new talents to kind of not only learn from each other, but to learn from, Rob, Donnie, and myself. It's a place of mentorship and of great conversation. So it's facebook.com/groups/voiceovercamp. Send us a request and we will be glad to have you a part of it.
Don't forget to take the test.
No, yeah. There's a little questionnaire in there, and appreciate you filling that out. So, yes, that's right. Never put off till tomorrow what can be done today. The time to end the procrastination, the time to end the fears is now. With 2018 being around the corner, now's the time to get going. And what we want to do is offer everybody on this call who's I should put a disclaimer in there. If you're already working with us, if you're already a coaching student of ours, this obviously doesn't appeal to you because we're already coaching you. But if you're not coaching with us yet, what I'd like to offer you tonight is a free voiceover consultation from Rob or Donnie. And we typically like to do this via Facebook Messenger. And you've got both of their page links right below as well. You can also find them in Voiceover Camp. They leave comments and posts all the time. And just send them a message right after the webinar. And for the next 30 minutes, they are going to be available for a free voiceover consultation. This consultation alone is a near $200 value because it's basically like a free coaching session. So for those of you who are really passionate about getting into voiceovers and you've been thinking about it for way too long, in fact, you're tired of your friends telling you should do it, you're tired of your spouse telling you you should do it, you're tired of your dog telling you should do it, well, don't you think you should do it? I mean, if everybody's telling you should do it, don't you think you should do it? Or are you just going to be one of those fence sitters? Don't be a fence sitter. We work with a lot of fence sitters, too, that just can't seem to get moving. I talk to people who are still asking me the same questions and it's going on 4 and 5 years. And I feel sorry for people like that. And I know it's a big step and nobody wants to pay for stuff. And it's hard because that roadblock gets in there, that fear. It's like, well, there's no guarantee of my success. I mean, what if I fail? I mean, I can't tell you how many times I was faced with that type of fear before I switched from, theater to radio to voice acting. If you're ready to go, sometimes you just have to jump. So I really want you to take us up on this free voiceover consultation. Donnie, Rob, you'll both be available for about 30 minutes right after the call tonight, correct?
Sure.
30 minutes exactly.
And yes, 30 minutes exactly. And again, there's Donnie's Facebook URL down there, and you can contact Rob direct. But again, you can find them in Voiceover Camp too. Just send them like a Facebook message and say, hey, I've got a couple questions, or I want to take you up on the free consultation, and they're going to chat with you. We probably, we get rewarded and we get praised for being very candid. We also get a little flack from people because sometimes we can be a little too honest, which is kind of a shame in this day and age that we're getting heat for being too honest. Honestly, there's a lot of fluff out there when it comes to like voiceover coaching and voiceover teachers online claiming to be experts when they have no experience whatsoever in voiceovers. And it's horrible that these kinds of people are out there. And this is one of the reasons we all started working together. I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of all the crap out there. We really want to put together a nice, candid program where nobody's rushed to the demo process. You can work on your own time. And when you're ready and we say that you're ready, then we'll do the demo. I mean, there's people on our call tonight who knows that it's quite the process. Sometimes it can be 6 months, up to a year before you're even ready to do a demo. It's not medical school. It's not going to take 12 years, but we want to make sure that that you have learned enough and that you grow and work on your craft until you're ready to go. So,
but you can do it. That's the thing.
Yes,
it's like you can do this. It's like I know procrastination.
Don't put it off.
It's the fear of like, what if I fail? Well, what if you succeed? I mean, you won't know unless you get off your ass, get off the couch, and actually do it. So face your fears, suck it up, and do it anyway. You can succeed at this. You can be successful, especially, 2018 is just a few days away. You can make a commitment to start your voiceover career if you're serious about it. You can do this. You can be successful. It just, it just takes a little help with the right people. And that's what we're all about.
And hopefully that's us.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what? I really appreciate you it's not easy to take time out of your busy holiday schedule to join us on a webinar on a Wednesday evening, but I'm flattered and honored that everybody took the time to kind of hear our stories, and hopefully you learned a thing or two. I really, if you really want to do this, I encourage you to take us up for the free voiceover consultation. Contact Donnie or Rob right after we close here, which is going to be in a minute here. And any closing thoughts from you, Donnie?
You guys pretty much wrapped it up. Same thing as always. Get off the fence. Yeah. That's all that's stopping you is you. There's a different path that everybody's going to take. You might move faster, you might move slower, but you're never going to move anywhere if you just sit around.
All right. Well, happy holidays to you both. I appreciate it. I'm going to stick the recording of this fabulous webinar in Voiceover Camp tomorrow. And happy holidays to you, Rob. Happy holidays to you, Donnie. And happy holidays to everybody on the call. And we really appreciate you getting together. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
See y'all later.